If you post content online, you probably want to stand out, right? It's an obvious thing to say, but some of us might not want to admit that. But it was brought to my attention the other week, but someone said that it all comes down to one thing to stand out. And that is, if you just do something hard. Do something hard and you'll stand out. Like, it sounds pretty simple, but I found it really quite fascinating when I sort of dived into what I'm watching, what content I choose to click on, and then identifying if the reason I clicked on it was because they did something hard. Now let me explain. I'll explain some more because it depends what industry you're in, like business-wise, content-wise. It depends what your hard is. But the reality is that makes you stand out because it's something different. It's something that a lot of other people wouldn't do. So you're like, that's interesting. How did they do that? Why did they do that? It's quite fascinating. We clearly want to stand out, and doing something hard is a massive way to do that. I'll give you some examples, right? Like, some of these are mainstream, some of these you can go to like a small business example. But Diary of a CEO, one of the biggest podcasts in the world. Clearly, you probably would have heard of Stephen Bartlett and Diary of a CEO if you like that space, but they film with not one. I film with one camera. They film with 10 cameras on their podcast, which, I mean, honestly, probably seems like overkill. Like, it seems crazy to me. I'm like, you don't need that. Like, but we probably pat them on the back because it's like, hey, they get big guests, which is another hard thing they do. They get the top guests from around the world in different industries. They do that. That's a hard thing to do. Not every podcast can do that. But the camera examples, who can film with 10 cameras? Who has that, I don't know, budget? Even that stuff, who has the money to do that? Who has the resources? What does that do? It increases the quality. We probably see clips online, you're like, damn, that's really good insight. But it's like, okay, because they have a camera overhead looking at Stephen Bartlett's iPad or notes, that you can see that. It was actually the first example I saw. Go to another example. People run marathons. That's hard. If you post content of it, you're going to be like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, how do they do that? They give an insight over the finish line. They give an insight into almost fainting, all this exhaustion. That's hard. That's something not many people do. So you immediately get drawn to it. Influencers, slightly a different realm than podcasts and marathons and all that stuff, but they post on social media every single day. Some do, and that's hard. And you might be laughing and be like, well, that's that's not hard. That's like, cool, get your priorities, whatever your thoughts are. But the reality is that's hard. Try coming up with ideas with value that you could post on social media and create, and do that every single day. Even the thought of mapping it out, that's hard to do. So when you do it, it stands out because you show up every single day. Podcasts. I'll always say that the most difficult part of doing a podcast is the consistency. Are you willing to show up every single week? Every single week, map out a good episode, whether it features a guest or just you and a teammate kind of thing. Are you willing to do that? That's hard. That's hard to do, showing up every single week and executing it. It just is. And most people aren't willing to do that over an extended period of time. And that's why most podcasts stop. That's why they're probably not successful, because you don't do the hard thing over a certain period of time. MrBeast, this was an example that came to me that's in a different realm again, but it's the same thing. It's a hard thing to do, to create challenges on YouTube worth $1 million, but that's what he does. That's hard to do because who has $1 million budget? Don't know. Not many people, but it's hard to do because you don't see it. You don't have the budget, you don't have the resources, the amount of cameras he uses as well. Like, the stuff he does, especially in Beast games on Netflix or Prime or whatever, if you watch that, you're like, this would have taken so many hours to set up. They created like a whole separate world in Vegas or something. That's hard to do. So you're watching it and you're just like, this is bloody impressive. Even if the game shows aren't good, which I actually enjoyed on Beast games, you just like the whole production value, if you just look at it, it just looks so appealing. That's hard to do. I just think it's fascinating. So they're very different examples in different genres, but they boil down to things that are hard to do. And that's why they stand out. That's why you click on it. That's why I click on them. Think about the content you watch and why you click on it. I literally just clicked on a video the other day that was just like running a cafe by myself at 21 years old. You know, they just clicked to me before I recorded this. I'm like, why did I click on that? Because that's hard to do. In your mind, you make up that that's hard to do. You're so young and you run a cafe, you own a cafe. You're like, how is that possible? How does that work? So you click on it. They're small examples, but they're really quite interesting when you think about it. So if you want to stand out online, and us as content creators, business owners, we do. That's obviously we want to stand out online, and it's such a saturated space. So it's like, how do we actually do it now? But if you boil down to doing something hard, it's quite interesting. So you can ask yourself, like, what do you do hard? What is hard about your life even life things, business things. What is hard about your business? What are you doing that a lot of other people aren't doing? And then can you put that out there with content, with sales, like with getting people interested in your product? It's quite interesting. It's also an interesting task to ask yourself. So I wrote down some of my answers. Like, what do I do that's hard? What do I do in business, in life that, you know, has varying degrees of difficulty? What I came up with, posting online often. That's a small thing. Again, relates to the influencer one I mentioned before. But if you show up online, I don't do it every single day yet, but maybe it's a goal. I do want to keep posting more and more and keep providing value, and then you get in the minds of other people. So posting consistently, that's hard to a degree. It is. Doing some form of exercise daily, that's hard. It's like a discipline thing. I don't do any extreme marathons or whatever, but showing up every day in terms of like doing a bit of exercise, you might be stretching, you might be going for a walk, you might be going for a swim, you might go to the gym. Doing that. I stay pretty consistent with that, so that's pretty hard. Turning around videos for clients quickly without losing quality. That's something I wrote down in my business. That's a hard thing to do for a lot of other people. If people ask for like a 24-hour turnaround or something like that, if you can do that, not lose quality, put all your attention to it, and execute the project well and quick, that's pretty hard to do, right? Again, you can relate it to your own business, and it's not going to be like otherworldly some things. Like you might look at that and you're like, oh yeah, I guess that is hard to do. Staying consistent with side projects. Things that don't necessarily earn an income yet. Maybe it is YouTube, maybe it's running an Instagram page, maybe it's developing a clothing label. All those things, I stay pretty consistent with my side projects, even though sometimes I get distracted over here that I want to start a new one, that I forget about another one. But I do normally have a hand in a few side project pies, which I'm pretty happy with. So that's hard to do when they don't earn an income and you can't really justify it financially. Yeah, it's quite an interesting thing to, as you're listening to that, like ask yourself what stuff you do that's technically hard. And not only is it a great challenge for you, but if you turn that into content, I can almost guarantee that people will take an interest in it because it's not normal. Doing hard things is not normal. And all those examples with Diary of a CEO filming with 10 cameras, people running marathons, gearing up for half marathons, like stuff of that nature, it draws you in because it's not normal. So do something hard, put it online. If it doesn't get attention, you can blame me. But I have a feeling that there's a very good chance that people will want to watch it or want to click on it because hard things are interesting. How did they do that? Why did they do that? Is that even possible? Those type of questions. So do something hard. Maybe that's a key. That is a key to standing out online. So see how you can use it for yourself and your business, yeah?